Yeah, it's kind of crazy the way things are working out where we're, in the summer went just like that. It went fast, and here we are.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to a lot of great things this year. And I guess the main thing for us in our area, we've had a lot of teams change leagues, including Fremont Ross. They're now in the NLL, moving from the track. Track is no more. Whitmer moves over as well. You have we're still playing Finley.
Yep, Finley moved over as well.
Yep, Finley moved over as well. So be some new opponents, so that'll be nice for Fremont Ross. But then you had Oak Harbor, who won the last championship in the SBC that they played in. So now they're going to the MBC. And I know Woodmore had moved leagues, and Bellevue moves divisions. They go to the Bay Division of the SBC. So a lot of changeover, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but the schools think it's good, so I guess we'll go with what their call is.
Sure, and I'm sure that it was at one time an athletic director nightmare, trying to reschedule, and of course then they're opting out of the league and trying to find new competition and how many non-league games are they going to play, and everything changed for sure.
Absolutely, and of course we're doing the call of the game on Friday night with Ross hosting Tiffin Columbian. Do you like starting with a rival? I mean, they've done it for a number of years.
Yeah,
now,
we've done it for a number of years now. Back in going back in the old days, it was, I don't want to call it a cupcake schedule by no means that we played. But Tiffin Columbians traditionally, lately, the last 4 or 5 years, have been very dominant for a smaller school even. And they've given Fremont Ross fits the last few years, where it came down to one of the last plays of the game, taking a lead a couple years ago, to going over there and taking care of business on week one, and then we're off and running. But if you remember Coach Long, he's friends with the head coach over there. They went to school together.
Yep, and he had been a coach there previously.
Right,
too,
exactly. So that's also nice. And but for a rivalry game, it's week one. I mean, you're not gonna. It's not like it's Fremont versus Sandusky, like you have Clyde versus Bellevue.
Yeah.
Talk about rivalry. There you go. Instead of playing week 10.
They moved from the end of the season
Yeah.
for Clyde Bellevue now to the beginning of the season to make sure they played that game.
Yeah, and the night's supposed to be a beautiful night, 80-degree high they're talking about, and I'm not sure if they're playing in Bellevue or Clyde, but wherever they're playing at, it'll be a sold out. It'll be sold out. The county fair doesn't start to the following week, and you're going to have all that talk in with Clyde and Bellevue people.
It's in Clyde.
There again, it's in Clyde. Coach Carter just walked by and gave a wave. But go figure.
He's happy it's at home.
Yeah, he's happy it's at home being week one, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so a lot of big things this year, a lot of changes for Fremont Ross. And, I look at we'll go over the area first. And the big news is, and we'll talk about with Joe Wyatt here in just a few minutes, the head coach at Gibsonburg, Connor Smith's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, he was all everything.
He was Mr. Everything. You're right. Sure.
And the thing I love about it most is everyone knew what was coming, and no one could stop
him. Yeah, and he had a great career at Gibsonburg, and I think he should have got more accolades at the state level, a little more recognition. But when you're a little guy and doing what he did and 100%, and he had a great career for Gibsonburg Golden
Bears. It was like 6,500 yards, something
unbelievable.
Like that. It was a truly amazing what he did, and of course they'll have some changes coming up.
Sure.
They'll have, and we'll talk about that with Coach Wyatt here in just a few moments. Matter of fact, let's just go over the list of coaches that we're going to have tonight. Of course, it's a preview for our season coming up for area teams. Kickoff begins, the season on Friday. Well, we'll have the SJCC game on Saturday as they go up against Cardinal Stridge. That game you can hear right here on Eagle 99. Josh Waring, new head coach at St. Joe, will be joining us after Joe Wyatt. So Joe will be joining us about 7:20, 7:40 for Josh Waring. Ryan Carter, top of the hour at 8, and then we'll conclude with Coach Chad Long of the Fremont Ross Little Giants. So, Gibsonburg, that'll be interesting. Anybody else that you see in the area that might have a good season? Clyde started out, they had a lot of troubles with turnovers at the beginning of the year, but last year they turned out to be one of the better teams in the area.
Right. Well, when you have a staff like Coach Carter's had, and he's been around for a while, and teaching those kids, it doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are. It's all about fundamentals and sticking it together. And I think he's done a great job and a successful program over there in Clyde.
So some of the news reports said that he's going to have a new scheme. I doubt we find out much about that scheme tonight.
Probably not tonight. Probably not tonight.
That's saved up for the opponents
right.
Coming up on Friday night with their rivalry game against Bellevue, and that game will be heard on 92.1 The Wolf coming up on Friday night. And yeah, so another rivalry game that we're going to have. Of course, when you look at Fremont Ross, they begin with back-to-back rivalry games because the following week they play at Sandusky.
And who knows what Sandusky will bring. Fremont Ross did a nice job handling them the last couple years, but then, it's just one of those things where you throw the records out, and whatever happened the prior week before, those kids will be fired up. I know these kids nowadays is Finley, but us old-timers still think the Fremont Ross Sandusky game is a must-win game, bragging rights, so to say. And it'll be interesting over there at Cedar Point Field.
Well, my apologies to our friends down in Finley.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, that's a mouthful.
Right.
But I can tell you what, I just want to beat them one time.
Yeah.
One time.
Yeah.
The way you had it last year.
Sure.
6 seconds to go.
Yeah.
We'll just leave it like that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because
he was
all the fans of Ross know what we're talking
right,
about.
exactly.
At that. We're going to have a lot of good running backs. I mean, do you look at the area and do you think we have more successful running teams or passing teams?
Not knowing well,
because last year you would say running.
Yeah.
Caden Holmes.
Yeah.
Connor Smith.
Yeah.
Who was
a lot
making
of running.
national
Yeah.
accolades.
For sure.
And Clyde had some good running backs and everything. It seems like, everybody's talking about the game becoming so much more wide open with the spread.
Right.
But I'm seeing a lot of running backs in this area.
Yeah, when you start losing key opponents, so to say, especially quarterback, if you're not two-dimensional, which Caden was last year. And we figured out 11,000 yards we think
11,000. I think it was 11,008. But
in his career?
I did go to Ohio University. My arithmetic isn't always right, and I know the Bowling Green and Toledo fans probably know all about that. So,
sure.
But that's what I added: 11,008 total yards, passing and running.
Yeah,
and 52% of the rush yards last year.
Yeah. Being in today's game, the spread, but not everybody's spread. Of course, Coach Wyatt will tell you that here in a little bit. Speaking of spread,
the only thing he knows about spread is spreading his butter on his toast in the morning.
Sure, spreading the toast. But anyhow, it'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of new faces in, not just the program at St. Joe with players and coach, but you've got a couple new faces, with the Little Giants and offensive defensive coordinators. Got a new quarterback. The spread. Who knows? Maybe he narrows it down a little bit.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
Well, it certainly will be, and from the Ross perspective, when you look at Caden Holmes now up at Toledo, and then Adam Harinchu he went to the Air Force Academy.
Correct. Right.
Bryson Hammer at Toledo as
Correct.
well.
Yep.
But for all that we see here for that core group, and at least they've been able to continue their college career somewhere else.
Sure, and it's great. I mean, you're in D1 schools.
Yeah.
That's the amazing thing of it, and it takes a lot anymore. It doesn't matter, where you come from in this big state of Ohio. To get a D1 offer and go to D1 school, that is quite an accomplishment. Of course, you got the Buckeyes and so forth. And you got Toledo and the Rockets are,
And
they
Luke
did really,
Luke Montgomery's over down at Ohio State.
Yeah.
As an offensive lineman.
Yep,
So
and he's down there, and you got the kid from Finley who's juggling back and forth from a few big D1 schools, and we'll get into that in a little bit when we talk about the quarterbacks in the new conference.
Yeah, it's going to be real exciting at that. So, anything else? I haven't heard of any major rule changes this year.
Maybe we'll be able to
we'll talk to Coach here in just a few moments about any
that.
of that, because I know a lot of the officials will do like a coach's clinic with those coaches,
right,
and see things of emphasis. Some things that they've ignored, and then I know a lot lot of games we seem to have done last year, they were talking about uniforms and tucking in their pants. I felt like moms were on the field.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or the knee pads weren't covered in the knees. Yeah, I get you.
That's truly amazing. So we'll go over a little bit of the schedule that we're going to have here, and of course we mentioned about Tiffin Columbian at Fremont Ross coming up on Friday right here on Eagle 99. You'll have the pregame show beginning at 6:30, kickoff at 7. Cardinal Stritch, and Stritch didn't even play football last year. Talked with their head coach today, Coach Thompson. They are back at it. Coach Thompson came over from Woodward High School.
Okay.
1 year, and then he wanted to go to his alma mater. So he's now resurrecting that program at St. Joe's. That will be on Saturday night, same time, 6:30 with a pregame, 7 o'clock the kickoff there. Bellevue and Clyde, as we mentioned, and that game will be on 92.1 The Wolf. That will be coming up with the same start times as well. And it seems like we got a lot going on here. We don't have Ohio State for a couple weeks. They're at Indiana. Tiffin University will be against McKendree. Anybody gets bonus if they can tell me where McKendree is.
I don't know.
I have never heard of them, to be quite honest. Look at some of our other area schools. Tiffin Calvert at Mohawk. They begin tomorrow night. So Seneca East against Crestview. And looking to see if we have any other area team. Oak Harbor at Boucher. Genoa hosts Archbold. And then Woodmore against North Central. They'll host that game for Woodmore. Fort Clinton at Waite. Danbury against Waldron. They'll host that game for Danbury. Eastwood against Ottawa Glandorf. And Lakota goes up at Monroeville. And those are most of the area teams that we need to cover at that. So pretty good matchups. So when you look at scrimmages, and you had some access to some scrimmages and everything. Was there anything that stood out to you in terms of getting teams on the same note so early in the year?
I always notice that the defense is ahead of the offense, obviously. I think that's just a common thing. And I wish they'd wear the same numbers they wore last year, but they don't seem to do that. Then they get everybody confused.
Oh,
but,
that's true.
If you can – I bet if you talk to any of the coaches, either one of them, and they go into week 1 and they say, hey, if we can play mistake-free football – I'm talking about turnover football – and we limit – very few penalties. I'll say under 5. I bet they think that's a very successful
what the most
start.
common penalty is? It's procedure
penalties.
Yeah.
That's can't hear a cadence, forget the cadence, or so forth, or they're lined up illegally and so forth. But the turnovers, I was getting out healthy, and the lack and keeping a penalty free. I bet they'd be tickled to death.
Yep, absolutely. So, and of course, you didn't have to deal with the weather. We're expecting temperatures in the early 80s.
Yeah, beautiful.
Low 80s.
Might be 90 next Friday, but but yeah, all of a sudden warm. But it is August. It is August.
Having done games a long time ago now, 20 plus years in Alabama, they used to require a water break the first month of the season. I would be advocating for that here.
Sure.
Seriously, because you don't want to keep cramping up.
Right, that's true.
That's something they have not, at least not on our radar, at least have talked about at that rate. So it's up to the players to be able to take care of it, and the coaches too.
Sure.
And making sure things are all right. So we're going to take our first break here from Frickers, and then come back with Coach Joe Wyatt. We're going to talk about Gibsonburg. We'll touch on their successful season last year, and then how do they turn the page from their all-time leading rusher having graduated in Connor Smith. That certainly will be a big thing for them at the beginning of the year to build on that fine tradition that they had last year. You're listening to the Coaches Show on Wednesday night. We'll be here every Wednesday during the course of the high school football season from Frickers, located between Highway 20 and the Turnpike here in Fremont. Come on out for some great food specials that they have every night, including kids can eat free. You can ask for details on that as well. So make sure you can eat well and not break your budget as well. We move along. We'll have more after this here on Eagle 99. they had the band playing.
Right.
If that doesn't get you pumped up for
Yep.
Friday nights, nothing will. All right, we're here, Frickers, on our coaches show. It's our first one of the season, and certainly appreciate you joining us. John Kearns is on the board, and we have Nick Roth joining us. He'll be with us throughout the year, and alongside Scott Logan, I'm Tim Bolware. And now it's time to talk about our area teams. And first off, Gibsonburg, and head coach Joe Wyatt joining us. And coach, your fourth year, and we'll touch on last year just briefly. I know that you want to turn the page, but all the success you guys had last year, and of course Connor Smith graduating, and all-time leading rusher in school history, and so many successful things. And I was there for that game that you had against Wingfields Goshen, and that was quite extraordinary game from your team. And then went to the next round and just lost out, ran out of time against Antwerp, but what a great year. And not only that, for all your returners to get that satisfaction of having done something that had never been done before at the school. They've been at least saying, well, now we want to get back to that point, or at least trying to build on that success.
Yeah, we had a great year last year with going 10-2, and it was the Goshen game was a big game, and that we were excited on that game. The next week we lost in the last minute of play, but we played hard and we came back, tied it up, and I thought we'd go overtime, and we didn't, but our kids played well, and there was a lot of excitement for our school and program.
And the one thing that I always look at with your team is last year, and of course, the way your offense is with the wing T, everybody knows what's coming, and yet you still have success with it. What does that say about your team to have that success when there's not any secret that you're throwing out there?
Well, obviously last year we was a totally run fullback pretty much team.
Yeah.
We ran belly after belly. We kept trying to get different formations, move guys around, traded, tight ends, wing backs. We overloaded one side. People don't move around and move with us, and we outman them on that side. And we had Connor, and Connor was a hard, tough kid, and there may not be another one, but I'm hoping we got another one right now coming. But Connor went on, now he's at Finley, and as of right now, he's playing with the number 2s.
Wow.
He moved up to number 2s already.
Jeez.
So
talk about that. He's going to make hay already.
For his size, playing with the 2s, I think that's great.
Absolutely. And so things change for you. In what ways do they change beyond just your personnel?
Well, we got to be really patient this year. We only have 2 seniors out of the 3 that start. So we have a very, very young team. We are starting 4 freshmen, and we got another kid that's going to play probably over half a game because he's fighting for a defensive nose guard, another freshman. So we're playing 5 freshmen. Are they ready to play varsity? They're talented, but physically they may not be, but that's the best we got, and we're going with it. And then we got a bunch of sophomores playing. We lost 13 positions out of 22 with the seniors last year, and we're filling all them positions with freshmen and sophomore.
Wow.
All 13.
Is anything going to change on your aspect as offensive-wise? I mean, we know you can't replace a Connor Smith right away. We understand that. But is there anything in your mindset, in your offense, that you're changing because of personnel reasons?
No, we're going to still do the same thing. I got 2 really good offensive line coaches. Glenn Owens, who was the offensive line coach at Eastwood, even when they were state runner-up, he's been with me the last 4 years, and he does great. Plus, I got Jerry Rutherford, Eastwood's coach for 37 years.
Oh, wow.
He's my line coach this year. And Glenn moves around and does other things a little bit. He works the offensive line and goes around a little bit of everything. So I got 2 really good, and we're having patience. We slowed it down a little bit. Right now we're not as fancy or the plays or things as we were last year right now, but I'm hoping we get there in the next few weeks. But we're having patience. We're going slow because of all the young kids.
And you play Ottawa Hills, who last year had that big win against you in the first week of the season. This time it's at their place, so tough beginning to your season. what do you do in terms of the expectations, matching that with giving these guys, these young guys, a tough team like that off the bat?
Well, number one, we're still planning on being competitive, no matter who we play. That's our goal, to be competitive. Uh, we're going up there. They got 9 starters back on both ways. They lost 2 good guys, 2 good running backs, and they both played linebacker on defense. And they lost a third guy as safety, I think. So they have 8 back on offense, and I think they got 8. I have them for 8 both ways back. They saying 9, but that's okay. But anyhow.
Split the difference, 8.5.
Yeah, whatever. It don't matter. They have a really good team back, and they expect big things. They got a really good quarterback. I don't think we're ready to play last year as well as we should have been at that time. I don't think, and I think it was an eye-opener of what happened, and that's one reason we played better after that. We're just hoping we can go up and be competitive with everybody. Our first 5 games are the tough. I mean, game 2 we got Seneca East, who's 7-3 last year, and a really good team. Then we play Edison game 3. Some way we lost. We couldn't find anybody, and I guess we got forced into playing Edison a little bit. I'm not real happy about that. D5 school and a good D5 school. It's not like they're bad. And then we got
just ask Bellevue from a couple years ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And then game 4 we got Hobo Loudon, who's supposed to win their league and should. They're really good. And then game 5's Calvert. And then after that we start playing guys that we definitely know we can play with. So our first 5 weeks is tough on a Division 7 schedule.
So with head coach Joe Wyatt as he joins us from Gibsonburg as the Golden Bears sit to go up against Ottawa Hills on Friday night to kick off their season. And when we talk about, obviously a lot of success last year for Connor Smith was, it's all a team effort. And of course you had a great offensive line. So when you talk about the young guys on the offensive line, you're crediting your coaches at those positions to help out with that. But what do you see for them in terms of the line play in the trenches, especially in the early going of the year?
Well, we got a freshman center, and he's coming along. Now, the freshmen are good athletes and good players on their level. They were last year. But, he's 6'4". We got another freshman, a guard at 6'4", and they both go about 230. Our senior guard on the right guard, Sam Hansen goes about 210. And then our tackle's back from last year on the left tackle. He goes about 280. And then our other tackle goes about 230, and he's a sophomore. So we're coming along. They're getting better every day. And we lost a lot running back wise. We got Cam Namumi back, quarterback, who he's fighting it out with a freshman. We got a real nice freshman quarterback that we need to get on the field. He plays defense, free safety, but one of the free safeties. But we got Cole Owens, who we think is going to be our speed guy, get him outside and let him run. The other guy is named back, a really good blocker, Antonio Salazar. He was a lead back in most of the bellies and stuff we ran. He's a really good, tough kid. And then our fullback this year is Grant Smith. He's a freshman. It's actually Connor's brother.
Yeah.
He's bigger. As a freshman, well, he's bigger than Connor. He's 180, and he's like 5'9", so he's bigger than Connor right now. But he has the same work ethics that Connor had when he was a freshman, and his 2 older brothers make him work. So
did they not say anything, but we know how brothers can be.
Oh, sure.
They
I grew up with 3 of
them
myself. Right. And I was the oldest, though.
So we're expecting a lot out of Grant. He's going to get the football, and we're keeping him off of defense, even though I think he could play defense. But as a freshman, we're trying to eliminate the freshman to one way right now.
Yeah, that's tough on a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, especially coming in as a freshman, and you must have to be a very, very elite player to be able to play both sides of the ball, especially in a freshman, and so forth. But It's interesting that when you mention about the front line, I don't care in the trenches, especially in the offense that you run. That's where you win or lose the game. I mean, and we had talked. I don't know if I was talking with him earlier, and I said, if you talk to coaches, what would be the three things you want to get out of and get, whether it's a win or a loss? Hate to use the L word, but what are the three things that you getting out of week one that you would be happy with? Let's forget that it was a win or a loss.
Well, we want to be competitive. I mean, we want our kids to grow up and be competitive.
Right.
They're coming from their last 8th grade game for them freshmen was against St. Joe.
Okay.
All right, last year. So now all of a sudden you're playing Ottawa Hill. So they got to be mentally tough to get through this. And we're trying to make them mentally tough and want them to be competitive. We just think we do. I mentioned our tight end. He's a sophomore. Is Luke Foster. I mentioned him. And then we go double tight sometimes. And our other tight is Grant Dawson. And those guys both can block too. So I didn't want to leave them two out of what I said. But what we want to be competitive. We want them to grow up and be better every week. And we just got them to believe that they're better than what they are. I mean, we just got to push them to believe in their self right now. If something goes bad, try to have patience. And we have. It's tough. It's tough for
sure
me.
It is.
It's really because I want to fight around. But yeah, we're trying to be patient.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're. I don't want you to use the word trouncing on a senior, but there's someone who's been there, done that most of the time,
right.
and knows better. And there again, speaking of that, who do you have for a leader this year? Have you announced your team captains yet for the year?
Yeah, it's Sam Hansen, who was a right guard. He was left guard last year. This year we moved him to right guard. He's our one captain, and Cole Owens is our other captain. They're both the seniors that start. They've both been around me, our coaching staff for last 4 years. I trust them. They hustle. They have desire, and at seniors, because we won, they expect to win this year.
Sure.
I know those two talk about playoffs and that. I don't know about that kind of stuff right now.
Yeah, that's when you bring out Jim Mora.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. Well, I said that.
Playoffs?
Actually, I said that yesterday. Playoff. But
One week at a
it's
time.
one step at a time.
Sure.
But they're used to make the playoffs. They have all last 4 years. But we need to, and we won a game every year in the playoffs, which hasn't happened in a while, at Gibsonburg. So our expectations some are high, but again, we got to have patience.
Now, a couple of questions for Joe Wyatt, the head coach at Gibsonburg, and you get ready for Ottawa Hills coming up on Friday night. It's a road game. Then, of course, you have the next 3 at home, looking at your schedule. So hopefully that'll help you out with your young group as well. But yeah, I was looking at one of the articles here and doing some research for our interview, and I saw that your 8th graders started up their own football league this summer. And I found it interesting that they would come up with the initiative themselves to be able to do that. But, how much does that show not only the initiative for them to be better football players, but also to get some experience during the summer?
Well, obviously, they're freshmen now, and they love football. They've been good at it, and in the last few years organized, because they play 5th and 6th grade tackle. So they played for 4 years. They've been successful. They're all enthused, and they're good. The freshman class is really some good kids, and their parents coached a lot of them in junior high and in the 5th and 6th grade. So they're a good class. They put this together themselves. They even sold merchandise last year. Had merch and made some bucks on merchandise of their little league they had going.
Geez, I should have bought some stock in that.
Yeah, they were excited.
Very, very good. And it's nice to be able to do that, plus some of the other things involved with that, marketing, some of the other skills that they learn from beyond that. Now, in terms of officiating this year, and we haven't had a game, so we can't talk anything negative at this point. But any points of emphasis that you've heard from the officials for the season?
Well, in their scrimmage, they brought it up, but the last scrimmage more than the first one. But our last scrimmage, they said, what point of emphasis is on the defensive backs. Have them to wrap. They just can't come in with a shoulder and on the receivers and drill them. If they don't have some kind of a wrap as the shoulder's hitting them, they're throwing flags. You can't tackle it just with the shoulder.
So you're talking about from the shoulder up, so to say?
Or just lunging into them.
Oh, okay.
They can't lunge into them. They got to have some kind of a wrap to come. That's what they're been telling me. That's what it was on when we did our thing. But they want to take out the big hit on the receivers.
Well, and I understand that, but boy, it gets
That's tough.
so difficult now that you can't hit low, you can't hit high.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
it gets very difficult, and I guess at that point you just kind of learn when you. After a penalty or two,
Yeah.
what's being called, what's
Obviously,
not.
can't lead they don't want you to lead with your head, obviously,
Yeah.
on them. But now they're emphasized just can't dive into them and drill them in the air with your shoulder. There better be some kind of wrap coming, or they're going to hit us. That's what they emphasized last week and told me, whatever, call whatever you want, whatever.
Well,
You get a different crew every week anyway.
Yeah, right.
And it's just like anything else. It'll be called different anyhow. The odds are.
Well, I'm sure since they're younger people, they probably know a lot about good rap. But, that goes to practice, though, because in terms of the coaches, that's important because you're having to teach technique so much more often. How much do you emphasize that in practice?
Well, we do a lot of bag work, obviously. We have more kids than we had 28 last year, and we lost 8 seniors. We had a nice freshman group come in, and I had about 3-4 more new kids. So we're up to like 32 kids. So it's not like we can do a lot of full go hitting and that. So we do a ton of bag work. We tackle bags. We do that. We form tackle, practice that. But beyond that.
So, same offense, obviously. So what are you doing with your special teams, let's say? Do we have a kicker again this year?
Cole Owens was our kicker last
Okay.
year. He did extra points, field
Right.
goals. My punters, the same punters had last year in Spencer Wagelman. So we're special teams. I think we should be good at it. We're the most important thing in football, I think, is punting. But we're working on a snapper right now. That's the only thing that scares me. I just hope we don't have to punt. I mean,
Well,
now.
everything, no one likes to punt,
No,
right?
we're working on. We don't want to punt
Right,
anyhow.
anytime.
4th
Right.
and 30, we're going for it.
Yeah, well, but we need to work. Our snappers need to get in trouble. But we're okay, I think, defensively, like we have been. Our special teams is fine. I think they're all back. Defense, we're running a 4-2-5 yet. Glenn Owens is my defensive coordinator. He did it last year. And we got the defensive backs are all back, even though we moved one out, and we have a freshman starting there at the one safety spot. Reese Walby, he's our one fighting out for quarterback. Also, and he might play some running back too, because he's probably the second, third fastest kid in the team. So
It's nice to have athletes, and it's nice to be able to move one back to another. Yeah. So other than Walby, the other kid that's quarterback, can he also be a running back? I'm just curious.
He'll be a wide receiver.
Wide receiver, okay.
He's a really good receiver. He'd go to receiver Mooney would go to receiver if he ever got beat out at quarterback.
Interesting.
Well, we're looking forward to covering your team this year. We're going to have the game against Tiffin Calvert a little bit later on in the season, but we know that we'll keep a close eye on your young squad. So thanks very much, Coach.
Well, thank you for
Thanks,
having
Joe.
me.
Appreciate
Coach Joe Wyatt joining us from Gibsonburg. We're going to come back next, and we will continue with our previews and have Josh Waring, the new head coach at St. Joe, and find out what's going on with the Crimson
Good luck
Streaks.
to you.
You're joining us from Frickers here for the Coaches Show on this Wednesday night. With Scott Logan, I'm Tim Ball wearing you here on Eagle 99. weather and beautiful out there today. And it was nice weather, I'm sure, for the kids to practice as well. As we're joined by Josh Waring, who is the new head coach at St. Joe, and we're going to cover a bit of their team. And he's a graduate of the school, 1995.
95, yes.
Okay, so I was class of '95 too. I've now graduated to the older club because now coaches are younger than me,
right.
and same classes, and it's just one of those things. But how's things been going in the early going for so far?
Very good. I can't complain. The kids are mentally in the right spot. They've worked extremely hard, and everything is progressing, in a great fashion for us. It's pleased so far. We're making progress every day.
And that's the big thing for you is to be able to do that. And the team struggled last year. Of course,
Yep.
you had Jackson Wright, who was all everything.
Sure.
And he's now gone, graduated. Do we know where he went?
University of Toledo. He's
Okay,
walking along.
Why
to
is everybody
University
going to Toledo?
Well, both
Well,
my
it's
daughters.
local, so I mean, I understand.
Yeah, I have to
I
ask
get it.
Chad Long about that,
I-
too, being a Falcon.
Well, John Cahill's very happy.
Sure. Oh, he's tickled to
but
death.
I can tell you what, I'm going to say, why is everybody going to Toledo? I'm going to have some Rockets fans say, what is it against
Right,
Toledo?
right.
So, but that's very, very good. So, so you have a new identity with this team, younger group. We talked a little bit earlier in the
Correct.
week on the phone. 22 in your group, 5 seniors. So,
Yes.
how do you get these kids this experience this early in the year?
It's tough. It really is, and it's really tough when we go to team up when you don't have enough to really have 2 complete teams. We've had some injuries with some of our younger guys already, and we have one that's out for the season. But it's all about repetitions. Making sure they get the reps in, quality reps, and just get them ready, for the upcoming season.
Yeah, how difficult does it become when you have 2 guys that you're going to rely upon? One's out and the other one's out for the whole year. How does that change what you do in terms of bringing up the next man up?
Sure. I mean, one of the mottos on our team is streaks adjust. And we've tried to have a mental preparation for when things go south, and the kids have really bought into some of the things we're talking about and trying to implement, and streaks adjust. Next man up, and they're all aware that they're one play away. They have to be prepared, and one of the old sayings is proper preparation prevents poor performance. We have to be prepared at all times. You never know when you're the call is going to come in for you.
One other question I had, you're aware of the tradition at St. Joe.
Yeah,
You
sure.
you played for them, and how much does that help you in being a coach, knowing what to expect that you had been there before, and now you're just trying to articulate it to a new group of guys, a younger group?
Yeah, I mean, tradition is very important for us, and it's a big thing. And I try to, and we've talked about this. We've got some books that we we read, and how dominant they were in the '60s. And in the '70s they were in a state championship game. In the '80s, Coach Narducci came along, and at the end of his career, rattled off 6 or 7 straight MAL championships in football. And then Coach Wonderly had a nice run as well, a second time through. So, there's a lot of tradition there, and they realize that, and they appreciate it. All right, and they're part of something bigger than themselves, and that's really one of our goals as a coaching staff and as a program is to let's keep pushing to that next level. Let's get the pride back, the I don't want to say dominance, but let's be a contender for that league title.
One step at a time.
I understand.
Obviously, right?
Yeah.
One step at a
Sure.
time. And coming back and graduating myself in the 80s, knowing the Swints, the Dars, the
Sure.
Spildinners, and Kearns, and, I can go on and on and on. It was always great, even though I played on Friday nights. It was great walking over there from my grandmother's house on Roosevelt.
Okay.
And watching, because we got to go and get in game free.
Very
and
good.
and just to watch, because you knew it was another great night of football. And good friends of mine also, but it's a different culture now.
It is.
It's a different culture now. And there's a lot of things that lately the school has had to adapt to, adapt and so forth. But you know, and I think our Coach Wyatt was saying we do a lot of bag work.
Sure.
Because sometimes you don't have enough bodies.
I understand.
You know, or someone's hurting. I'm sure there's coaches out there that are holding bags and being
Scott said he was willing to volunteer to be a tackle dummy.
No. The only volunteer I am is a Tennessee volunteer. No.
Very nice.
But no, and when you're short on numbers and kids get hurt, obviously as years go on, you know, and the coaches are out there being, you're not padded up. You're big enough you could play, for God's sakes. They're not going to knock you around. Sure. But doing the bag work and the little things, and there again it comes back to fundamentals and taking care of yourself, you know.
Yep.
And we were talking about the weather's been okay up and down, a little hot at times, but you know.
It's been a pretty mild August.
Yeah.
It really has. In terms of 90-degree days, how many have we had in
Maybe
August?
three,
Yeah, that's
four,
unheard of.
Yeah.
This time of year, the grass is usually, browned out.
Right, exactly. So, you know, that's helped you a little bit.
Yep.
And I don't know if you're practicing during the day or later in the evening, but obviously if it's late in the evening after 3, it's a little cooler outside than it is obviously at 11 or 12 o'clock.
Sure.
But tell us a little bit about your structure and what you have offensive in mind.
Sure.
In an offense.
Well, offensively, we're, at its core, a pro-I football team. That's what I'm familiar with, through Coach Narducci and at Walsh University with Coach Dennison. We want to establish the run game, and we want to own the line of scrimmage. It's my estimation that you win the line of scrimmage, and you should, the game should take care of itself.
Sure.
And we have the ability to throw the ball out of this. We have great passing concepts that we can implement. But at our core, we want to run the ball and control the line of scrimmage. That's what we do.
And defensive wise, what is your set?
Defensive wise, we this day and age, you have to be multiple or hybrids. They talk.
Sure.
We are a forefront. We do have 4 down linemen, and at its core, it's a 4-4 cover 3. But depending on the opponent, we may be like a 4-2-5 concept. That's really what we wanted to work on this year is to get in that 4-2-5 and some palm concepts, just to make sure we don't get beat over the top. With all these spread teams,
sure.
You have to be versatile and you have to be able to adapt. So, and yeah, I'm very excited. It's it's so far it's proven itself in our last couple scrimmages in terms of the forefront. You have to stop the run regardless. I don't care what kind of offense a team runs. You got to stop the run.
Right.
And that's really our focus, initially.
So, given from the first scrimmage to the second scrimmage, have you seen progress?
Tremendous progress.
Awesome.
Like I said, every step we take, especially the scrimmage. The first scrimmage was against Mohawk and Monroeville and East Knox. It was a quad scrimmage, and there's a lot of good things, but there was more things that we really had to correct. In our last scrimmage this past week against Woodward, it was.
I can't even remember.
It was Corning Miller.
Corning Miller.
So it was about.
And having gone to Ohio University, I still have never heard about Corning Miller until last year.
I have in-laws that live in Zanesville, and it was about a half hour, south of Zanesville even.
Yeah.
And we made the trip. It's a 3.5 hour
did they
trip.
know where it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Well,
did. They had heard of it. Sure. But it still was a great experience for the kids. I mean, it's somebody
Beautiful
new.
area.
And we really wanted them to come up, we really wanted to play a one-on-one, series with them. But
it only lasted a quarter.
That is correct. We were up 27-0 with, I believe, 9 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't even a quarter.
and Jackson Wright, I think, had 4 touchdowns in that first quarter. I mean, and we had them figured out right away. But then the heavens just released. I mean, it was a bad thunderstorm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, very well. So you get to play Cardinal Stritch, and we're going to talk about them in just a moment.
Sure.
But let's talk about your leaders. We had mentioned about when we talked earlier in the week. Nick Anderson. Is he ready to go?
He is ready to go. He's our quarterback. He's our senior quarterback. He's a veteran at this point. He's definitely taken his licks. I mean, he has. But Yeah, he's been a tremendous leader. You talk about resilience. You talk about, mental toughness and guts. I mean, that kid has it, and he's a great – he may not be the most vocal kid, but he's a lead-by-example kind of kid. And I couldn't be more pleased with his leadership so far. Yes, he's our quarterback. He plays linebacker for us as well. That sort of tells you, how tough of a kid he is. And as well as Matthew Connell. Now, he's a junior, but when we started our preseason lifting program, he and his brother and some of the other ones were there constantly, and he's shown tremendous improvement as well. He's worked extremely hard, and he's a little more vocal than everyone. He's basically our defensive captain and makes sure everyone is in the right spot, and he's our fullback. He's going to get the rock, and he's 6 foot, 235 pounds. He's every bit of that. And he does a great job for us. And let's see, Luke Danke as well. He's our other captain. And once we started lifting, he'd always beat me to the weight room. Yeah, he'd be there a half hour beforehand. He's worked extremely hard. And he was a starter for us last year as well. But his improvement, it's off the chart. How much he's improved as well.
Are you bench pressing much these days?
Not anymore.
I was just wondering if you were, in competition.
No, not. That has happened. I won't lie. And I had to show. I still got a little bit left in the tank, but no, we've got some. If you look at our lineup, our starting, our offensive linemen, we've got some. We definitely have some bodies and some strong individuals. Another one is a Gabe Ramirez. He's only a sophomore. But he's 6 foot 270, and he's not an overweight kid. I mean, he's the real deal, and he's a great wrestler. Wants to be a state champion, and he's working towards that. And I think the upside to him is off the charts as well. I think he could be, an all Ohio kind of kid. So but like I said, baby steps. And we're making progress every day, and the kids are understanding the concepts and great leadership, and I think we got an extremely bright future.
All right, let's talk two things. First off, Cardinal Stritch.
Yep.
And they didn't even have a program last year. We've mentioned that about the game that you had to move in there.
Yep.
In replacement of that. So what do we know about them since they've been out for a year? I talked with Coach Thompson. I know that you have been impressed with their quarterback.
Correct.
Anything else that stood out to you in looking at some film?
They have, they're athletic. They are, they have an athletic football team, and at their core, they line up in spread formations, but at their core, they really want to run the ball, and they want the ball in their quarterback's hands. Their best athlete, in my estimation, and they will run with him too. They're not afraid to let him, really. I think he's from start. He played quarterback for them last year, so. And he's got a nice crew around him. He does, and it's going to be a challenge for us. But other than that, they only had one scrimmage, and I got the film from that. So I mean, you can't really base a lot of things on one scrimmage. They could come out in things totally different, just like anyone else. But we just have to be prepared for what they throw at us.
Is there a lot more uncertainty for the coaches or the players in the first game? I mean, I guess if you're a new player and you're starting for the first time, maybe there's some uncertainty there. But for the coaches, I mean, can you tell a lot from a scrimmage? I mean, it's very vanilla offense and defense, pretty
much. Sure. Scrimmages are what they are. You can only take the data that is presented in front of you and make a game plan with that. If you're not nervous, whether you're a coach or a player, it means you don't care. And I know all our guys are going to have butterflies, and I certainly will. So yeah, that's just something you can't really control. It's a tough one to prepare for, but we have a special routine we do. Pre-game that tries to settle all those butterflies down and get ready to work.
I remember because didn't Fremont and Clyde didn't everybody play start on Route 20 last year? I mean, I believe it seemed that way. So if memory serves me right, that kid had pretty decent quick feet, and he was an athlete.
Correct.
The issue was who was around him. That was the problem, and I don't want to say, but a lot of penalties. I mean, there was a ton of penalties. But you may want to call if you've had any contact with Coach Long. You
Sure.
know, I remember that kid was quite an athlete, but it was just the people around him that he had problems with, and a few attitudes, and of course, and everything else. You know, you got to keep it cool when you're on the football field. But I'm always a special team guy that I like to talk.
Okay.
So tell us a little bit about what you have in line, possibly as a field goal kicker, PAT, and your punting, kickoffs.
Well, that's one name, and that's Matthew Connell that we talked about, our fullback and one of our captains. He's got a tremendous leg. And, punting, he's 40, 40,
nice.
I mean, on a consistent basis. I mean, he really extends. Kickoffs, he will do the same thing. We have the ability to do some different things kickoff-wise. We're going to place the ball where we want to. Obviously we'll let it rip at times too. But that will be, he'll be extremely important to our kicking game. And we've got replacements as well, in case he gets hurt. But he's the main guy on our kicking game.
Well, the emphasis of your first home game and then 4 in a row on the road.
Oh, wow.
Sure, yes.
Road Warriors after that. Does that put a little more emphasis on that? Get off a good footing? I know you can win on the road, but still, I mean, you like to be able to defend your home turf.
Well, yeah, you would. I mean, everyone's more comfortable at home, really are. And, we've got to go decent distances, too. Some of the, places we're going to, New Washington and South Central, Willard. Margaret is not too far away. So, but every game is important, and this one's extremely important to get her off on the right foot. But I talk to the kids about controllables and uncontrollables, and can we control the weather? Can we control officials? No. Let's just focus on what we have at hand. We can control our intensity. We can control our conditioning. We can control our attitude, and that's what like I said. Streaks adjust. We'll adjust to anything that throw at us. If we got to go on the road 4 weeks in a row, so be it. The nice thing is this year we open and close on Saturday, and the rest of the games are all Fridays. So which is unusual for St. Joe.
Routine,
right?
Yeah, the routine will be better. We got a short preparation for next week, but once we get on that, I think that'll help as well. That
cool.
schedule.
That's good.
Well, very, very good. Coach Josh Waring will be there for the opener against Cardinal Stritch. 6:30 with a pregame, 7 o'clock from Don Paul Stadium here on Eagle 99 coming up on Saturday night. So thanks very much for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure. We're going to come back. We have Coach Ryan Carter who will be on hand to talk a little bit about the Clyde Flyers and what they expect for this season, and most importantly, their rivalry game coming up against Bellevue on Friday night. More from Frickers right after this. We're at Frickers in Fremont, located between Highway 20 and the Turnpike. I invite you to come on out for their great food specials. You can watch the Guardians and Reds game right now, right here at Frickers. More to come after this here on Eagle 99. love being here at Frickers for our coaches shows. Every Wednesday night we're here during the football season with Scott Logan. I'm Tim Bolware and John Kearns on the board. We also have Nick Roth joining us. He'll be assisting throughout the year. And Coach Ryan Carter of Clyde as they get ready. Your rivalry game bumped up from the last game to the first because Bellevue's changed divisions in the SBC going over to the Bay Division.
Yeah.
And so how's this going to be for you getting ready for such a big rival opening game?
Yeah, definitely a different feel for us guys. Ending the season with them last year and now rolling out week one, definitely a different feeling. The whole offseason had a different feel, trying to get ready for your rival, and the kids had a different perspective on, trying to get ourselves ready to go because you come out of the gate against your rival and you have to be ready to go. You play a great program in Bellevue. Their kids are going to be well coached and ready to go. So it's definitely been a different feel throughout the entire camp, what little camp we had, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it goes by pretty quickly. And so last year, I remember that opener you had 4 turnovers, still win the game.
Yeah.
And obviously, to not repeat that this year. But what do you have for your balance from your mix of youth to experience?
I'll be honest with you. If we have 4 turnovers and win a game, I'll take it. It does not matter.
I think most will.
It does not matter to me. It doesn't have to be a clean win. I don't care. But, yeah, you come out with those first game jitters, and you got young kids that haven't seen Friday nights before, and especially you ramp it up with playing Bellevue. We're expecting a lot of miscues and trying to fight through some of those hard spells. So we're going to have to do that. They're in the same situation, but we're going to have to do that and try not to dig ourselves too big of a hole because they have a couple of weapons on offense that really can slow you down. And the fact that the Lapata kid at quarterback, they can really quarterback run you to death and just keep pounding and plodding along and keeping the ball away from you. And then they bring in the Martin kid at quarterback as well, who's a tall, more of a pocket passer. So they present a lot of things that you have to prepare for in a shortened preseason, which makes my life a little stressful, to be honest with you, at this point in time.
When you get that rivalry game, and I do remember it, and I was telling the guys earlier, I said, when Fremont and Snuskey did the same thing one time,
yeah,
where they ended, and then it was game one. And you're right. It's a completely different feeling. And it's only game one, but it's the game that you want to win.
Yeah.
Number one, to be 1-0, and then also to beat your rivalry because it sets the stage as things progress, obviously. And it seems like you two always have something going. And he's always got something in his hip pocket that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is there's only 1 or 2 scrimmages that you've seen on film. And there's still something in his hip pocket that you like. I didn't see it last year, and I didn't see it on film, but there it is.
Yeah, I mean he didn't run anything in his scrimmages that I
course
think
not.
we're going to see on Friday night. So, and likewise, I mean we didn't run a whole bunch either, but it's one of those games that it's just so magnified, and our kids look so forward to it, and. How game one plays out will have a lot to dictate how our season goes. So I'm hoping for the best. You got 9 more after that.
Sure.
So it's not the end of the season, but you sure want to come out and play a good football game. We're in our own home stadium and playing our rival. Our kids should be ready to go.
And the fair's not going on or anything else. And I bet you expect 7,000 people.
Yeah, it should be a good crowd. And that's the other thing that you don't look at really as a coach. You really don't. But I'm fortunate to have our athletic director on my staff.
Mm-hmm.
So we, in talks and hearing those guys talk, you take it from week 10 and move it to week 1. Week 10, you throw in a bunch of variables, right? Either team's not having a great season,
sure.
your crowd base isn't following.
Right.
Either if the weather is crap, you don't get a. But week
right.
1, you're both 0-0, and you usually have fairly decent weather on
sure.
Friday night for week 1. So it should be a great crowd. It should be good for our community, and we're looking forward to it.
So let's break down a little bit, and I know that the one report I saw, you have new schemes on offense and defense. Well, who doesn't? First of all, probably most do have a little slight tweaks. I know we're not going to get a lot on that, so I'm not even going to bother asking, Coach.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But talking about offensive and defensively, who are some of your leaders coming back? Who are some of the guys that you're going to look upon to lead your team, especially in the early part of the year, to get everybody up to snuff?
Well, we have a couple of guys that are back from last year's team up front on both sides of the ball. Blake Hershey and Colvin Daniel were both offensive and defensive lineman starters for us last year. So those guys are going to be relied on heavily on both sides of the football. We got a couple of new kids on the offensive line, defensive line. Not light blue. That's what we call him, is light blue. Clark Norman, who was Remington Norman, our all-state defensive tackle from a couple of years ago from the state championship year. That's his younger brother. He's back. He runs the football for us and is going to play linebacker. And then we got a couple kids back in the secondary now. They were sophomores that started last year, so they're back, as juniors, but not old kids yet in the background. So. No, I'll tell you our schemes. If Ed's listening, we're going to go double tight, double wing. We're running that thing every chance we get. We're going back to 2019. We're going wing T, and we'll see how many times we can run it in the course of one game.
I bet he just turned. Yeah, right. I bet he just turned his radio off.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I think he's a little bit more wise to that,
sure.
but it is nice to hear. But you look at last year. Of course, you lost to Norton in the second round of the playoffs, but you win the big rivalry game 13-12 against Bellevue. But what was it about the development of your team from the beginning of the year to the end, and what characteristics do you hope will carry over to this season?
Guys, to be honest with you, I was so proud of last year's group. We did not have a whole lot coming back. We did not have a whole lot of we graduated a huge senior class the year before that all played a tremendous amount. We were replacing guys in every skilled position on the field. And our kids went out and battled last year every single game. We lost some games, but they were all hard-fought games. Even our playoff game, we didn't play particularly well, but our kids fought all the way till the end. I was so proud of last year's group and the fact that they gave us everything they had. That's what we're looking for out of this year's group as well. We just want our kids to compete. We want them to, go out there on a day-in, day-out basis, try to improve, get better at your position, help your buddy out, and be the best teammate you can be. And we've had that so far. Now, when the bullets start flying on Friday night, we'll see how they respond. But looking forward to this year's group, and super excited to get them going on Friday night.
So I'm getting this. You're going to have some speed, but you're also going to be physical. So can you be both?
I think you can. I really like our team speed this year. I do. I think we're going to be fast on both sides of the ball. We have a couple of big guys that are back from last year, but we're replacing some size. So I think we're going to have to be fast, and we're going to have to play at a pretty quick pace and try to utilize our speed on both sides of the ball. But I do think you can still be fast, but at times you're going to have to bang it up in there. Football comes down to blocking and tackling more times than not, guys, and you can out-scheme people to death, but it comes down to open field tackling, not turning the football over and blocking people, and we'll see how we do on Friday night with that.
And the thing is also about penalties first week, and it seems to be a plague. And I was telling the other coaches earlier, I said, if you can get out of a game with not turning the ball over, 4 penalties maybe all game, I think obviously you're happy.
Yeah, you give yourself a chance.
That's
right?
the big thing, especially on week 1.
And you're right. You get behind the sticks. I tell our kickoff and kickoff return unit every time they go out there, no penalties. Don't get, just give us the ball where we get it. Don't set us back. And you get a holding call on first down or second down, you're behind the sticks. For high school teams, that's hard to dig out of.
That's hard to do.
And turning the football over in special teams week 1. I mean, we were fortunate enough to beat Bellevue last year in I think a 13-12 game or a 14-13 game where they missed extra points, they missed 2-point conversions, we missed an extra point but got one, and that's a difference in the ball game. If you can punt them. And get a punt off, a 40-yard punt, that's like a win.
Sure.
So we are working on all those things. But again, you get out there on Friday night, you turn it loose, and you see what happens. And kids respond differently. So we're working towards it. We haven't had a tremendous amount of time. This preseason has been so short with everything pushed up. So we're going to try to get the kids ready and go out there on Friday night and play our rival.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. Of course, 92 on the Wolf. We'll cover that game. Bellevue against Clyde. That'll be 6:30 with the pregame show, 7 o'clock kickoff. Good luck, Coach Ryan Carter. We'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate the coverage. Thanks guys.
All right.
Good
All
luck.
right, we're going to roll along. We find out more about the Little Giants, what we're going to have for the 8th season for Coach Chad Long coming up next. Here from Frickers, the Coaches Show. We're here every Wednesday night. Don't forget, they do have those daily night specials.